10 before the end and we have about 10 minutes before the sun sets. Speaking of 10 before the end, we probably have about 10 minutes before the sun is gone. As you can tell from the title of today's video, there's a trend going around, mostly TikTok, mostly book talk I should say, called 10 before the end, which is basically sharing 10 books that you want to read before the end of the year. Another TBR video basically, but I thought this would be fun because I made a TikTok version of this, just 10 prioritized books on my TBR that I would love to get to for various reasons, and I'm trying to post as many videos as I can this month of December on YouTube. I want to do Bookmas, I want to do Vlogmas so badly. Ideally, there's no way I can add that to my plate right now, so I'm just posting as many videos as I possibly can before Christmas. So here is my 10 before the end list of 10 priority reads that I would really love to get to before the end of this year. I tried to mix it up as well and choose some books that I haven't talked about yet, some new purchases that I haven't talked about yet, so many different genres of thriller, nonfiction, fantasy, mystery. I think there's a romance in here. Well, I think I read, actually, I don't know if there is. I read so many romances, whether or not they're on my TBR list, that I know there's no reason to add it to a list. Yeah, I just wanted to take part in this trend before the year's over, so here's my 10 before the end. And if you're new but like book content, please subscribe. I make a ton of book videos, but also lifestyle, vlogs, thrifting, antique, so much variety here, so please subscribe. I also have all of these books and more on my Amazon storefront. I also have a Goodreads account if you're into that, and then a Bookstagram and Book Talk. So if you like book content, please follow my other platforms. I'm going to leave the playlist though of all my YouTube book videos down below if you just want to go on a booktube binge of all the book content. I'm really excited to chat about these though because a lot of them are new purchases, so I haven't been able to yap about them as much lately. The angle of this video will probably change a lot. I'm just trying to be in the sun for as long as I can, and it is setting fast. Okay, let's get started though. Don't forget to comment down below if you've read any of these and which ones that you also want to read. I would love to hear your own 10 before the end list as well if you feel like sharing. I can add more books to my list. I don't know. Anyway, let's get started. The first book on my 10 before the end that I would like to read this year is Karen Slaughter's Pretty Girls. I have heard so many creators talk about this book, saying amazing things. I love a good thriller, and I think the cover is stunning and beautiful. This is definitely a recent purchase that has been eyeing me since I bought it. I am going on a trip soon. I think when this goes up, I'll be back from the trip, but that trip will be 8 hours total of flying time, like almost 4 hours there and 4 hours back. So I can get a lot of reading done in 8 hours. So maybe this will be a good plane read. I don't know, we'll see, but that's one of them. This next one looks so intimidating. I mean, it's massive, but it's one that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, and it is drawing me in. You've heard me talk about it as well. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah Parker. This would be my first real fantasy book if I do get to it, and I've skimmed it a little bit. It looks intriguing. If I just brought this on my trip, that's the risk. If I just brought this on the trip, I would be set, but what if I can't get into it and then I can't enjoy reading? This would be a really good plane read though. We'll see. I'm just so intrigued by that. These next two I recently bought at an independent bookshop with Bennett here. We went to Majors and Quinn when she was home a few weeks ago, and I found this collection of short stories called Fruiting Bodies by Catherine Harlan. It was nominated for a fiction PEN Faulkner. It was a finalist actually of the PEN Faulkner Award. The back just sounded great. It's like a genre bending debut of collections of just strange and mostly queer stories. I love a good queer story. I love supporting queer writers. So if this is full of that, I'm here for it. I think the cover is stunning, and I think this will definitely be a book that I can easily get through very quickly because it's just short stories. One of the quotes on the back says that this is tales of women and girls with a touch of the supernatural and strange, engaging with our very strange, sometimes supernatural world. I'll be eating this one up slowly, bite by bite. I need to read this. I always get super excited to read new books that I just purchased as well because that like high is still there, so I can't wait to get to that one. I also purchased this one at Majors and Quinn, and it's Lavender House. This one has been eyeing me at Barnes & Noble for the better half of the year. I know it's a mystery, but the back is also describing it as a genre bending mystery as well, so I'm very intrigued to hear about this one, and I just think it is stunning. Another highly anticipated read that I would love to squeeze in before the end of the year. This next one is definitely a holiday read, and I just talked about it in my November TBR list, but it's Carol, or originally called The Price of Salt. This will be a must read, but I wanted to throw it on this list anyway because that's what this list is, 10 Before the End, and Carol is definitely a must read for me. These next two have been put on the back burner for over 2 years. I bought these Christmas Eve of 2022, I believe, or 2021. I think it was 2021 actually. It was a bad year. Yeah, that's all I can say. So I spent Christmas Eve this year sad and alone and wandering through Barnes & Noble doing some book therapy damage. I spent $200 that night on self-help, spiritual, nonfiction books, including Joan Didion's Play It As It Lays. This is one of her few works that I have yet to read. I love Joan Didion. She's my favorite modernist writer. She is just so unlike any, she's so smart, so talented. She did recently pass away 2 years ago, but it's hard for me to use past tense still. A writer like no other, just a stunning way with words and just so well, I don't know, I love the way that she writes. It's beautiful. And this is one of her works that I've yet to read. I've read The Year of Magical Thinking, which I think is my absolute favorite piece she's ever written, and it's very, very sad as well. Let Me Tell You What I Mean was really good. All of her short stories. I had to read a lot of her work in college, but I read a lot of her work outside of college that I really, really connected to. This is one of her novels. Some people that I know have said this was like their favorite Joan Didion, so I'm very, very excited to read this one, but it has just been put on the back burner for years at this point, as well as this one, Places That Scare You by Pema Chodron. I read her book When Things Fall Apart, when things were falling apart basically, and it was really helpful. It was really good. It's pretty short. Again, it's just kind of been put on the back burner, but I know that this would be very, very insightful and helpful and just a good, richer piece of work to digest and work through. Like, I can go through so many romance books and I can enjoy them and love reading them, but this would be such a different experience, and I do need to get better at integrating that, because this is the type of book that I would only read a few years ago, and then I took a big 180 turn to the romance section at Barnes & Noble. Didn't know that existed. Smut, hadn't even heard of her yet when I was only reading this. I need to get back to my roots here. So Places That Scare You would be really good, I think, to read. And this next one, I cannot believe I haven't read this yet, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to even admit it and include it, but I need to just take away this like feeling that it needs to be the right time to read this. Like, it will never feel completely right, and I keep waiting for like the perfect time. I just have to start it because I have FOMO. I want to read it, but I'm also like, not yet. It's not time, or I should have read it here, or I'm gonna wait until X, Y, and Z. Girl, read it. It is By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. I should have read this the day it arrived because they sent me an ARC copy of this, and I was so grateful. She is my favorite contemporary fiction author, and I've heard amazing things and reviews about this book since it came out in August. Because it's a bigger book, I feel like I keep waiting for like a moment where I'm like, oh, I can read this now. It's never gonna come, so just start it. I think I also just really want to like savor this instead of just reading books to read books. I'm giving myself so many excuses, and I keep putting this on some pedestal thinking that I need to just wait until the time is right. The time is now, and if I don't read this soon, I will never get another ARC by her. I mean, the time might actually be perfect after the last couple of weeks or months that we have had. This might be really good. I don't know how full of rage this book is, but it is full of females doing work and not getting credit for it, or writing underneath men. Because I think this one is a dual POV or time jump between Shakespeare's wife, I believe, who wrote, and then Shakespeare took credit for it. No, mistress. Shakespeare basically took credit for her work, and then there's a present day woman who I believe the same thing is kind of happening to her, where another man is taking credit for her work, and we can't have that. So I need to read this. Actually, I'm gonna bring this on the trip because this would make a really good airplane book, and I used to read Jodi Picoult books on flights all the time when I was a teenager, so it would also be very nostalgic for me. These next two I may have mentioned recently. I know I've mentioned this one, but she's getting read ASAP. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Yeah, I just know I'm gonna eat this one up. That's all I can say. Can't wait to share my thoughts about her. And the last one definitely fell on the back burner, and to be honest, kind of became forgotten about, and it's The Silent Patient. Forgotten about on my TBR list. I still hear a lot about this book on social media platforms. A lot of other readers said that this was an all-time favorite, and I can't believe I haven't read this yet. So this is the 10th book on my list. I think we did it before the sunset. But that's my 10 before the end that I gathered and came up with for this trend, but also this challenge for myself within the next couple of weeks in this last month of the year. Definitely let me know if you've read any of these and if you would recommend that I absolutely do read this before the end of the year. And also, I'm curious to hear if you have any books on your 10 before the end or just priority reads of what you would absolutely love to read before the year is over. Definitely comment that down below, and don't forget to check out the links as well as my Bookstagram and BookTok account. Please go follow. I'm gonna go soak up the last 3 seconds of daylight that we have. I'll see you here with a new video, hopefully very soon. Bye!